7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, welcome back to the Vegas Squares Podcast, Golf Betting Edition. We are here. We are in the Zoom studio, and it is it's major week, kind of, maybe. It's the fifth major here amongst the players. It is the Players' Championship from TPC Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra, Florida. One of my favorite courses. I haven't played a ton, but one of my favorite courses in this country to play. It was just such an incredible experience, and I've got the full panel here. We've got Token Tony, we've got Tony Johnson, we've got John Parr. Token, we've missed you for the last couple of weeks. How's everything been going? I know you started a new job and everything, but how's everything been going in the golf betting world?
It's going all right. I mean, DFS last week went 6 for 6 for players to make the cut, so gave myself a pat on the back for that one. Matchups went pretty well. Missed out on the winner. I mean, I was fading DeChambeau, lost a matchup with him last week, but yeah, I mean, overall pretty decent.
Yeah, actually, you were still here in spirit last week with myself and John Parr, the podcast we did. I think, John, if you remember, I said we got the winner this week, Tommy Fleetwood, and it didn't come through. So I tried for you, buddy. I tried for you.
Yeah, it's rough with the new schedule.
Are you still awake working overnights? Are you still awake doing this podcast? We're doing it Wednesday morning. Are you still awake?
Yeah, I took about an hour nap, but yeah.
Wow. I got to say, I was afraid of you the most to not waking up for the podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just in case you fell asleep. So
I set an alarm just in case, and it's all good, and glad to be on.
So, Mr. Johnson, speaking of Florida, tell us some stories about the Korn Ferry experience and just your time in Florida there. And I know that I'm sure that you had a good time with that, and just anything you want to share with us.
Yeah, so I was fortunate to be able to get out to the concession on Wednesday. They weren't really allowing patrons Thursday through Sunday, like general admission type of stuff. So I have a contact actually still from here, from doing some of the stuff at the Shriners, and so I was able to get on the driving range on Wednesday. So that was arguably the highlight because I watched Dustin Johnson hit about 50 balls from 6-7 feet away, which was pretty entertaining to see. But yeah, I mean overall, the Korn Ferry event in Lakewood Ranch was a good time. It was really nice to see. Not that I attend a lot of sporting events certainly, but this was the first event where it was like general. Patrons were allowed, so, that I had seen, in a long time, or at least been a part of. So that was really kind of fascinating. And it was a nice group. I will say a very knowledgeable based crew there in Florida. Obviously, I know it's a golf hub, really one of the main meccas of the United States for golf. And yeah, I was pretty impressed with. I thought I'd be the only one that would actually know a lot of these people. If Token was there, it would have been Token and I, and like pretty much everybody else is kind of watching, to watch. But I was shocked at how some of these people actually knew who the guys were, like what events they were playing upcoming, what status they had on the tours. I was shocked. I was floored actually with some of the general knowledge of the patrons. But yeah, I mean, it was a very entertaining time. Overall, it was. I wasn't a big fan of the first course where they played the Korn Ferry at Lakewood National, but the second course, which again I didn't really get to go on. I only was able to look out on number 1 and number 10. Concession looked really fun. But it's only going to be a 1-year stint, and they're probably going to be back in Mexico. But it was a really, really awesome property, and I was extremely impressed. Even though it's like less than a mile away from the Korn Ferry stop the week before, it was a really, really impressive piece of property, and I think it showed extremely well on TV. The undulations, the ability to, be able to move the ball both directions into a lot of different holes. I thought it was really creative and a really fascinating course to see. But yeah, I mean, besides that, it's been good. Weirdly enough, I haven't been betting as much since, being in Florida, I haven't been able to use the Nevada accounts, but I do have an offshore spot, and have done pretty well the last couple of weeks, especially last week. I did have DeChambeau last week. Wish we could have had it here on the podcast. It's always fun to do it on the podcast. And again, with lower odds, we're not making a ton here. Unfortunately, it's not one of those JB Holmes type of situations. But,
Right.
yeah, still able to get a winner, which was good. I bet on DeChambeau the last 4 years, actually, at this tournament. So it was nice to finally get one to cash. It's just one of those things. I've been betting on him since day one at Bay Hill. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this tournament. I know Token mentioned it on the before we got on here. This is one of my favorites, as you said as well, Aaron. Not only great course, great field, but it's a wonderful, wonderful event. So this is one of my favorite weeks of the year for sure.
Yeah, I agree. John, talk about last week with Bay Hill. It's, Bryson, all the talk was he going to drive it? Is he going to pull the John Daly? Is he going to go for it? And he finally did the last two rounds. The first, the wind kind of helped him in those. But do you think that if there were no fans to egg him on, would Bryson have gone for that shot?
That's a great question, Aaron. You have me stumped for sure, but he definitely had a great celebration when he crushed it over, and he basically celebrated like I'm going to call him Bryson the Bear from now on out, because he does resemble a bear, and he goes for it when he needs to, and I feel like him and Koepka have been fading, but you're fading them in a good spot to where they're both they're overvalued at times. But what he did last week was phenomenal and great to see that when his idol is Arnold Palmer as well. And you could see that on his face when he sank that putt on the 18th. And let's talk about his putting real quick. He basically ended up 12th, I believe, strokes gained putting last week, and he's bombing it past everybody. He's been first all year in all-around driving and in strokes gained off the tee. So he's definitely turned a corner, and I've said he's sort of been a fade because I'm worried about how he's developing into this new big body. But it's fun to see him play, and I'm sort of becoming a little Bryson fanboy.
Yeah, I can tell just in kind of your voice, the way your spirits are very uppity about it. Especially since you said he was kind of stock fade for 2021. I'm surprised to see that you're starting to turn the corner a little bit. I will say this on Sunday going into it, I'm not a Bryson lover or a hater. I think Tony, I think you and I are kind of similar in this spot. You've mentioned some things that you don't like about Bryson, but if he wins, cool. It's cool to see that this experiment has reared success. I mean, he's got the U.S. Open and now, Arnold Palmer. But at the same time, like, I'm not rooting against him, but I don't know if I'm actively rooting for him. So it's good to see that. It's good to see that what he does and the things that have happened on the course aren't hurting him necessarily. I don't hear of anybody or see anybody in the media that actually just outright does not like him or hates him, I guess. And I will say this. I like I said, I wasn't actively rooting against him, but I'll say this, Token. Last week, I was rooting for Lee Westwood. That's a name you don't see in the standings a lot lately.
Man.
I was rooting for Lee to have a good Sunday.
It was sad to see him falter again on the putting green. That's what happened. I think he 3-putted on number 13 from 40 feet or something like that. And then he missed a 5-footer, I think, on 17 to keep him in it. And it's very unfortunate to see that happen. I feel like he's always had a good shot at the Masters, and it'd be great to see him just make a run. I don't think he'll win it, but it'd be great to see him make a run, be there on Sunday for the Masters this year.
Yeah, it absolutely would be. And I was kind of rooting for Westwood as well. I'm kind of anti-DeChambeau, but I mean.
Oh, we found one right on the podcast here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm in awe of what his talent is right now, but just not somebody I casually root for. So
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I said, I don't like. I mean, you kind of backpedaled there a little bit, but I don't see anybody who's actively like super against him like they were in the Tiger days and some other players, John Rahm, Sergio Garcia.
He
But-
reminds me of Gronkowski. He's like the Gronk of he's the Gronk of the PGA Tour right
That's
now.
fair. I'd like to think he's got a little more
And-
between the ears.
Well, here's the thing too: is he acts like a goofball, but he's probably the smartest guy on tour, right? So that's the perfect hustle in golf. Make yourself look stupid, but I love to see him celebrate after that shot on number 6 on Saturday, I believe it was, and it's just fun for golf, and he sort of changed the game with the same length clubs, and I like that as I've said before, but I'm still skeptical of the weight he's put on.
Yeah, I mean, I watched these YouTube videos of him and Chris Como working on their swing and stuff, and it's just crazy. And who was I listening to? Oh, Butch Harmon, to say that he's cool with what Bryson wants to do, but he's saying every swing is shortening his career by a round with the torque. The spine's just not supposed to be able to handle that much torque, and I guess the swing speeds are in the neighborhood of 200 miles an hour in the ball. I mean, I'm sorry, the ball speeds are in the neighborhood of 200, 250 miles an hour. He's like, it's just not sustainable. So he's like, if Bryson's going to, be somebody in the history of golf, he's got to basically win every other tournament he plays or every third tournament he plays, which, I mean, he's not doing it at that rate, but he's definitely in contention, it seems, almost every week. And I think that's all really Bryson DeChambeau cares about right now. Like, look at Lee Westwood. Like I said, he was up by 1 stroke going into Sunday. And while, looking at results oriented, a +1 only give him a 1-stroke deficit to lose and be second place. But how would you feel if you're Lee Westwood and that Bryson DeChambeau on any course could on any round, any course could go 4 or 5 under. So you might have to do the same. That's, I think, where the fear or the advantage that Bryson DeChambeau has, Tony, here is that any given, I mean, look at Winged Foot, he was the only one to shoot under par. So it's that's where I think the advantage has of Bryson DeChambeau. I don't think he's doing all this to say that I'm going to be clear head and shoulders above the field, Tiger Woods style, that I'm going to go beat everyone by 15 strokes. I don't think the talent level is that far discrepancy from Bryson. But I think the small advantage that this, I guess, workout regimen and food regimen has done for him is just on any given week, if he's right behind you, you better play just as well or better than he does.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more with that. It certainly puts pressure on the rest of the field, and I think we should give him a little bit more credit in the sense of understanding his body, understanding what it takes to become better and to always be working to get better. He's a guy that doesn't just rest on laurels, doesn't just stay put. So I do think that when his body starts to push back, which I believe he's already talked about a little bit, that it has. And then he has decided to stop getting bigger. He, at least in this short off season that he just had, that he's trying to more maintain his mass, and he's cut down on calories intake and things like that. He's going to always try to get better. It's not just bigger is better, and he's going to go all the way until kingdom come. I don't think that's the case at all. I think this is just this is the decision that was made, and so when his body pushes back, which it has, I think he's going to make some changes. So yeah, I mean. And the interesting, I heard that same interview, I believe that you probably did with Butch Harmon, and they talked about it very briefly on that one, but I don't think it's enough. Is that yes, while Butch makes a good point, and while many people, average guys, especially people like you and I, we would break down a lot faster. Genetics still plays a really, really big role, and so Bryson's genetics might be top 1%, top 2%. And, there's a chance that if he doesn't do anything and go off the rails, Tiger went off the rails, for a while. People don't really realize all of his crazy, military regiment that he did and stuff like that. It's not from golf for the most part. It's from the other stuff that he did, why his body broke down, where, maybe Bryson's body won't break down like the average person will. And he will be able to sustain for, some longevity. It's hard to know. Everybody's body is different, bones, bone structure, muscles. They're different. So it's TBD. We don't know. I think Butch makes a great point that it's more likely than not that his career has been shortened if he does, again, continue to swing like this, for years on end. But time will tell, and I think he'll make adjustments and he'll adjust where need be. And if the rules push back or if the courses change a little bit, he'll change accordingly. The guy is always willing to make changes and to try to get better. And that's the thing that I admire the most from him. Yeah, I don't really like him all that much as a human being, but who cares? We're not talking about that.
Right.
As a golfer and what he does and how he goes about his business, I respect him absolutely immensely, and I think it's a wonderful thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the progression is, and I think he'll be here for the long haul for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, excuse me, Aaron, but Tony, you said it's going to be TBD, right? Let's take off the D and talk about TB, Tom Brady. This guy has done this for years, right? He's been the guy that's been drinking the veggie shakes, all that, treating his body like a temple. And it seems like Bryson is doing that. And I will be skeptical until it lasts long term.
Sure.
And Brady, look at the dad bod he's rocking and everything like that. He's just worried about his health instead of his long-term care instead of his body. And Bryson, I think he might be overdoing it in the gym, but he like you said, Tony, you made a great point as far as he's smart enough to come off of it when he needs to. And I think he'll do that going forward for sure.
Well, theoretically, I mean, and this isn't the be-all, end-all, but there's rules set in place in the National Football League to ensure guys like Tom Brady who stay in the peak physical shape can last longer. Now, it's not saying Tom Brady never gets hit, but he doesn't get hit like Joe Theismann got hit back in the 80s and 90s. So there's nothing protecting Bryson DeChambeau from himself. And
yeah, but what has Brady done over the years? He's the nutritionist guy.
Right.
But
correct? He's never been a bulk nutrition guy. He's been a clean eating, maintain guy. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong.
He's been a knowledgeable nutritionist guy, and it seems like that's what Bryson's doing right now. He's being very knowledgeable about the subject, and as I've said, I've been trying to fade him lately, but now that we look at it, maybe there's something to it, maybe there's not. TBD.
Well, it's maybe where you fade him at too. It looks like he can definitely play well in a lot of spots, but you pick your spots right, and you maybe fade him one week at the like Bobby Digital, and he misses the cut, and you can make 10-1 on your money. I've seen this though. I've looked at the studies. I can tell you what the number one factor of a deteriorating career is, and that's diner waitresses. So I mean, as long as Bryson stays away from diner waitresses and Vegas strippers, I think he'll be okay for a while.
It's Central Florida type thing, As long as you keep them away from Florida, they'll be good.
Keep them away from Perkins.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's move to Ponte Vedra here, TPC Sawgrass, one of the more iconic courses with one of the more iconic holes. Number 17 has definitely been in the video rotation. We've all seen it. Some of us have played it. And it's just one of those that's, even the greatest players of all time step up there, and there's a little sense of unease and fear in their eyes, especially probably on a Sunday when they're going down the stretch there. That 3-hole stretch is some of the most beautiful, that par 5, the par 3, and then the par 4.
Amazing.
I want to move to 18 here because it's been recently revealed that they're going to try to cut Bryson DeChambeau's shortcuts off again, like they did last week, even though he didn't go that way. But, what do you guys think of this? Is we're moving in the fences, I guess, for lack of a better analogy, to kind of rope in. I mean, I know that everybody who's not fun at parties wants to fucking mess around with distance here and stuff. So now what are they going to do? They're going to take away shortcuts. Are you guys okay with that? How do we feel about this? They're moving the goalposts away every time someone tries to earn an advantage in this spot.
I guess I'll take the honors here. How about shave it down on the left-hand side and keep it open? There's a couple trees over there, and let's let him be an idiot. And he was an idiot last week, and it worked out. And it's fun to see the carnage as we.
He only birdied that par 5. It wasn't like his long drive made it. I mean, it made it shorter, but the first one, I think on Saturday, he was in the sand. I'm like, why are we cheering this? He's in the bunker.
And what's gonna be funny when Bryson gets his wedge game down. And that's what I've seen Dustin Johnson do. he's gotten his wedge game down to a T and his putting game down, and Bryson's a great putter too. But Bryson just needs to get his wedge game down. I remember him coming down the stretch. He beat Matthew Wolf. I can't remember what tournament it was.
That was the Rocket, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and either way, he could have won that tournament by 5 shots, but he only won it by 1 or 2 because his wedge game was way off. But like I said, let's make it fun. Let's make it Wolf Creek style. Let's make it somewhere, to where it's sort of golden tee, to where, okay, Bryson, why don't you go over to the left-hand side, shave it down, and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That fairway is not that big for him to be aiming at. So it's not like it's a huge advantage to Bryson. He's got a very small, area to work with just to take the water away. And, the crazy thing is, if you, having played that course, I can see the trajectory in my mind. If you hit a good tee shot over to the right side of the fairway and you're good with your iron, that water's not in play to begin with. So, I mean, like you said, fuck it, let him go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and it's interesting because this is a course that the PGA Tour, has a handle on. They can make the changes that they want. This is part of their group that they own or that they manage or something like that. I can't remember whatever the term is. So, and it's one of those things that draws people to the property. They're willing to pony up hundreds of dollars to play because they want to play it like how the professionals have. So I think having that idea of not having a large effect on what would be a membership or what would be the public, like if Detroit Golf Club, like you guys just brought up, for example, decided to try to make it extremely difficult and do crazy things, and so all of the public that is all the membership that is playing on a regular basis then ends up struggling, or it's not as much fun. That's not good for the game, and that's not something that I've ever been a part of. So a select few courses here and there, if you want to make some changes and make it more difficult, I totally understand that, and it makes some sense to me. And but to me, yeah, again, trying to just combat the distance issue with putting things in place so people can't hit driver is those are the people that aren't fun at the parties. As you said, Aaron, I couldn't agree more. There's a lot more we can do. John talking about shaving off sides of fairways and by greens and things like that. We can grow out some rough in certain spots. Who says that the rough has to be 3 inches long every part of the golf course? Why does that have to be the case? Why can't it be 3 inches along most of the fairways, but then it can be 4.5 inches up by some of the greens or something like that? Like there's no reason to not do this. So again, you have a couple of weeks to prep before a PGA Tour tournament. You can keep it at 2.5 inches, 53 weeks out of the year, for everybody else. But then those other 3 weeks, prep it how you want. It's not that difficult. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think that there's a lot more you can do with the course, and we've seen this. We've seen this in many other properties, even most recently at the WGC. There in South Florida, like they did a bunch of stuff to the course, so you had to maneuver the ball in certain ways, in certain directions, and it played difficult at times. Like you had to be on your game. You had to be in control of your golf ball nearly every single hole. Even that short par 4, 13 or 14 it is on the back 9, was not easy. It played 3.9 throughout the week. It was barely a birdie hole. I mean, that's just fantastic stuff, and that's the type of thing. This is what frustrates me so much, is it's not necessarily a distance game. Just make the misses penal. And, and if guys want to hit irons off tees, then that's fine. But you're still going to have the greatest players in the world take risk, because they know that the risk, the reward is worth the risk if you can get the ball on the green instead of having to hit an 80-yard flop shot in. So,
and is there anybody publicly? I know that we're a podcast and anybody can come listen to us. Was there anybody with a bigger base than us advocating for this? It doesn't seem that way. It just seems that there's either people who want to be pro the distance, and the issues, or there's people who just want to bitch about it. And I feel like that's a microcosm for the world here today. But there's nobody offering solutions except for you two.
Well, I think what Tony was talking about is the analytics of it. Is what do you want that 80-yard pitch shot to a top tier green instead of a little flop shot where you could knock into the ridge to slow it down? And that's what we're talking about, making the rough longer, making the 330 sort of bottleneck in instead of the 280 bottleneck in. You can manipulate golf courses very easily these days, and you could do it to the right way to where you have the guys like I love. I talk about Tim Clark all the time. Guys like that you want to see on the leaderboard every once. Luke Donald. Those like Jordan Spieth. Let's throw him in there. He can get it out there, but he's not nearly as far as Koepka or Rahm or DJ. Obviously Bryson. And I sincerely hope that the PGA Tour catches on and creates almost personas of golfers, to where this guy is the short hitter, this guy is the long hitter.
Well, they've kind of started to do that with Morikawa a little bit, and I think that's just because all the other guys are bombers and he's not. They've labeled him, the more accuracy guy than the bomber, and because he doesn't hit it, 320 plus. The thing I want to talk about here real quick, Tony or Token, I'll go with you with this. They talk about, John just talked about how easy it is to manipulate a golf course and how to change it and change it back. But I mean, look at us, a casual golfer, like, TBC Sawgrass, Erin Hills, Kiowa, Torrey Pines, you name it. These courses that host majors and large scale tournaments. To me, I think it wouldn't be fair to make it to come bring it back and make it easier. If I go to Sawgrass, or if I go to Erin Hills, or if I go to Torrey Pines, I want to play what they played. I might suck and shoot 105, but if you look at it, this is the only sport I can think of off the top of my head that a fan can actually do the same things that the pro can. You can't go to an arena and shoot basketballs in a game. You can't go to Wimbledon or Flushing and go play tennis on the courts. You can't go to Arrowhead Stadium and go play in a game like that. This is the only court. This is the only sport you can do what the pros did. So I kind of want it to be a little bit of an emulation of what they went through.
Exactly, and you wanted to play true to what they actually play. And I'll even make another cross-sport reference, bowling. It's hard to bowl on those sport patterns and all that. A lot of bowlers, even league bowlers, have never even bowled on a sport pattern. And,
I don't know what that is. What is a sport pattern?
It's pretty much what the pros bowl on, and it's a completely different lane condition than a regular house shot. Okay,
so there you go. I mean, that's not something a league bowler or a average Joe walking up to South Point to get the dollar game is going to experience. So there. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just I kind of want the experience that they've had. That's why I'm paying the $400 to go play Kiowa or the $250 to go play Sawgrass. I actually looked at booking a trip to Kiowa, and it's $474 to play around there on the ocean course. $474. Can you imagine what it's going to be after the PGA?
Unbelievable. Wow, that is extremely expensive.
I would just go – you got to imagine there's so many amazing golf courses around there. You could go pay 4 courses for $457 and
sure,
watch the 91 Ryder Cup and be done with it.
Or go watch Rory's what was that, 2009?
Was it 91? The War on the Shore.
Or you can watch Rory. What year was Rory that he won it? Like 11? Something like that?
Well, yeah, I think it was close. Like 2012, I think. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's move forward here and get into the players here. And as we do every week that he's on, Mr. Tony Johnson is going to provide us with a course outline. I mean, if you're a golf fan, Sawgrass, 17, 16, the short par 3. I believe it's number 9 or 8 or 9. But nobody does it like Tony Johnson here.
Well, I appreciate the intro. That's a great lead-in. But, again, I think you said it best, Darren. Everyone really does know this course. We remember a lot of the holes that, I'm just going to kind of try to keep it more towards what it will be, this season, how we can kind of work it out here. Because, again, I think most people do know it. But just very quickly to go through, Sawgrass is par 72, 7,189 yards. So actually not terribly long, in regards to the majority of par 72s out there that they do play on tour. So I think that kind of gets a bit of a misnomer that everyone thinks it's just this monstrosity, bear of a course. It really isn't. When you break it down, it is a shot maker's course, maybe more so than any other course that is essentially played on a yearly basis. That's probably a non-major. I guess you could make an argument that Augusta is maybe more of a shot maker course. But yeah, I mean, it's a really second shot course when it comes down to it. Fairway width is about 30 yards on average here. So about tour average, roughly speaking, for the most part. It does bottleneck at a few spots and a few different holes, on purpose. But for the most part, most of the longer par fours and par fives are going to be, relatively easy to hit the fairway. It's really the second, third shot coming in, depending on if it's a par five, where the difficulty lies. So, because of this, I'm going to get to this right away, actually. I think we need to be much less concerned with driving accuracy, with hitting fairways than we normally are, utilizing those statistics, thinking about that. And if we look at the past winners here, it really is, for the most part, a grouping of guys that are not necessarily accurate, off the tee. They tend to be much longer hitters. They tend to be guys that can move the ball both directions. And again, it's mostly great iron players, and it's great ball strikers. It's just off the tee. Again, I'm not really worried about it. And I think that's kind of a nice thing to think about. It's one less thing, at least, I should say, to think about, I think, trying to handicap this tournament. But, as we've talked about here, this is one of the best fields that we'll see throughout the year. We get a large international contingent like you would see in the WGC type of tournament. So that's always really, really nice. Guys that we don't get to see all that often, but yet are playing here, on a regular basis. So, you're watching some of the other tours. It's really nice to see some of the guys from the Japanese Tour, European Tour, Sunshine Tour even. There's a couple of guys there. So, that's always good. Again, we've seen this transition from May to March here over the last couple of seasons. I know it was played in March, 20 years ago and beyond, but the last couple of years since the March transition, I think weather has played into it a little bit, but it's actually been a lot easier than people thought. I think the thought of this transition to March was going to be more difficult because it was expected to be cooler, expected the winds to be up a little bit more, but in reality, it's been really the exact opposite of that. Temperatures have maintained about the same, roughly still in the 70s from March through May. And the wind has been down the last couple of years. And, leading into that, the wind is going to be down again this year. Weather looking like low 70s Thursday through Sunday for the most part. And not all that cold even in the morning time. So sometimes we look at these times, the tee times, whether someone is playing, an AM, PM, Thursday, Friday, or vice versa. Try to get an advantage there. I don't see any advantage at all for anything that would be weather-wise. 8 to 12 miles an hour throughout the week. Even on the weekend, we're not going to see the winds pick up at all, so I don't think we'll see much of a change. Wind direction also going to be consistent here. So I think these guys are going to have their way a little bit with this course, as much as you can be. So because of the difficulty and because of how important the second shots and third shots and being able to be consistent on the greens are, I think you'll have a large chunk of the field struggle, like we see throughout the years, but then there's going to be a handful of guys, maybe not necessarily just the big name players, but there will be a small handful of guys that I think are going to play really well. Because if you're in control of your game, control of the golf ball, and you're rolling it well on the greens, I really think we're going to see some numbers this week compared to some of the other past seasons. But, besides that, looking at some of the other Pete Dye courses, playing out the American Express at PGA West, TPC River Highlands, which is maybe my favorite course they play on a yearly basis. That's the one in Connecticut. I absolutely love that golf course. And
Pete Dye is a motherfucker, by the way. Just had to throw that out there.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I've only played one course he's designed. I've only played one in my history.
He's just sick in the head.
Yeah, but he is. No, you're right. It's a good point, Aaron. Places like Harbor Town, is a great thing is, he takes the driver out of your hand, for the most part, even for a casual player, because, the fairways end at 260 yards. So you really can't hit driver. It's a frustrating thing. And, having to hit the certain parts of greens because of the tiers and the levels and platforms that are created. Some people don't like this type of golf. Even the casual people don't really like to play courses like this. I've, from some of the places that when I was in the golf industry, some of the members, would had chances to go play, some of these Dye spots, or the trips were designed, and people would not go. specifically because they didn't want to play die courses because it just wasn't something they were interested in. Again, I take it your way. I find it really interesting and fascinating and kind of fun. But we're also going to see another Pete Dye course upcoming here with the match play at Austin Country Club, another great property out there. Now, it's been at Austin Country Club the last 2 years, I believe. This is the third year there, or maybe the second year, I can't remember. Another really interesting course, shot maker course, and I think we can see some parallels here from this week going into that match play. Obviously, not everybody is going to be in the match play, but some of these top-end players, because of how strong the field is, are. So I think that's something I'm going to be looking for to as well. So that's really what I got. We can't get a lot from the greens here because they are overseeded. So while they are Bermuda at heart, they're overseeded twice throughout the year, and the overseeding, I think, starts in February, I believe, in the Jacksonville area in general. So, again, we're getting such a mixed bag there. Grass.
Tony,
I don't think
Tony, let me ask you a question. Do you
Yeah.
think that equalizes the golfers, or do you think it makes the better putters pull away from the field?
That's a great question, and I don't think there's an easy answer to that. What it does, at least for me, I can just speak from my perspective, is I don't look at, green statistics a lot. Specific, guys that putt really well on POA versus bent versus Bermuda. And there are specific guys that are really better than others.
I talk about getting up and down from Bermuda, and I'm sure you played in Bermuda before. It's something that is you can learn from experience over the years. But I think you're right about the greens. These guys are so good on the greens, it doesn't really matter. They can compute the equation in their head and make the right putt with the right speed, with the right,
Totally agree.
So.
Totally agree. So, yeah, I don't really take it much into account. I'm really looking for guys that have been putting well coming into the week, guys that have been rolling well. Like it was talked about a lot about Morikawa's changes that he's made with his putting grip and kind of how he's rolling the ball a little bit. Brooks Koepka has certainly improved over the last year or so putting-wise. Things like that. I want guys that are putting well coming into the week because, again, I think it's just, these are greens that we're not going to get really anything specific, from others. Guys that have putted well here in years past, they come back the next season and they don't putt very well. There's not a lot of consistency on this course with putting-wise. So, again, it's a second shot, third shot type of course. I'm looking at guys that are hitting it, that are really accurate from 125 to 150 yards, 150 to 175 yards. Those are the stats that I was really honed in on, proximity to the hole, things like that. Because again, we are hitting the certain tiers, certain parts of the green. So that's my handicap.
Tim Clark, my guy. Tim Clark would fare well here, right?
There you go. So that's the breakdown of the course, and that's what we got so far. That's what we got for this week.
Another sick Pete Dye course here in Las Vegas. Paiute Golf Club.
There you go. We'll be seeing it in a couple weeks, right?
This guy's a motherfucker, I tell you.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's, with all that information to digest, take a quick commercial break here. On the other side, we're going to be talking about the featured groups on Thursday and Friday, and we'll get into our picks. So just give us about 2 minutes. We'll see you on the other side of the Vegas Squares Golf Betting Podcast.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
All right, and we're back here with the Vegas Squares Podcast, our golf betting edition, and it is the Players Championship, one of our favorite tournaments, one of golf's favorite tournaments, one of the players' favorite tournaments. In Ponte Vedra Beach near Jacksonville, Florida, we got the famous 17 green. We know all about it. So let's get into some guys who are going to be playing it this weekend. Let's get into the featured groups here, and I think we've got some great ones to watch. especially once the Amazon, watching everybody's shots. Once that gets up, groupings like this will be all eyeballs on.
Yeah.
Token, the first group I want to talk about is the guys we've kind of been talking about through the podcast. The Thursday group of Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, and Colin Morikawa. I mean, that is must-see TV if you're a golf fan right there. The number one player in the world, the number one talked about player in the world, and a guy who's just quietly racking up wins at a very young age and doing it just with class and grace and always seems to say the right thing. These three guys, I mean, to me, that's the group I'm going to be watching on Thursday.
Absolutely. I mean, that's going to be a fantastic group to watch. I mean, you got pretty much three completely different styles of golf. I mean, you got Bryson that just grips and rips it and tries to get edge with distance. Kind of a little struggle-ish with his wedge game right now, and then we got DJ that can hit it long, but also very good with his approaches and his wedge play. So a little more advanced with the short game for a DJ, little edge on him. And then Morikawa, probably one of the best approach golfers currently playing right now. So, I mean, it'll be a good one to watch.
Yeah, and Tony, you said, a course that doesn't really, reward distance as it's not a very long course, but it's littered with bunkers and undulations, which is strange for, a Florida course. But, which player in this group do you give the advantage to? I mean, like I said, Bryson DeChambeau is going to try to hit one to another continent. DJ can play that baby fade, into greens, and the wedge play has got significantly better over 5 years. And like I said, Colin Morikawa. I mean, which guy, if you had to give the edge in this group, would it be?
I'd give the edge to DJ if I had to, just because I think his game is in the best condition and the best spot. I mean, he's the better player, I believe, out of the three, at least in currently. So, I mean, in that sense, he's never really fazed by anything either, which I really like. Sometimes guys get phased, playing with DeChambeau. He is a very slow player. I know he's gotten better. He's gotten better, which is good. But he's still a slow player. He's a bit of an odd guy. So sometimes people, don't really play well in his group. But DJ is just a guy that he can mold himself anywhere now too, which is really nice. He's always a guy that you just wanted to take on a bombing type of course, but that's no longer the case. With how good his wedge game is, how much better of a putter he is now. So I would say DJ is the guy, and the guy I'd be a little bit concerned about would be Morikawa, just because I think of the other two players in the group, it's tough. It's tough to go up against. Not only the best player in the world, but certainly the other guy is the most talked about, maybe player in the world. So it can be difficult, and I'm not saying, Colin is not a weak guy, would never consider him, a weak mentally sort of dude. He's obviously shown that he can get there in tough spots. That win against Justin Thomas, in the playoff there in Ohio, especially having to come back from 3 shots down. I know he's got some chutzpah. There's no question about it. It's going to be slow going, especially on those greens. We've seen DJ take long periods of time, reading putts and being on greens. And I'm just not sure. I don't like the pairing. I don't like the pairing at all from Morikawa. So he's the guy I would be a little bit concerned about. But I have zero concerns for Dustin Johnson. And again, DeChambeau is always a bit of a wild card. If we don't have a good feel for what there is, like in some courses, I think there's a really good feel and a good spot for him, kind of like Bubba Watson in that sense. You kind of have a good idea. Whereas I'm not so sure here with him. At this case, it's kind of just a stock fade. Here, I'm not really, wanting to bet against him. Not wanting to bet on him. I'm not really sure what we're going to get. But Morikawa's the guy to be a little bit concerned about.
Fair enough. All right, let's move to the next group here. John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, and Patrick Reed, another group of big guys, talked about guys for whatever reason or another. Jordan Spieth seemed to enjoy a resurgence, so to speak. We've talked about him quite a number of times, and he had a hole-in-one last week, Token. Good thing he didn't bet the no.
Yes, absolutely. Always one prop to look at, and there was actually quite a few hole-in-ones last week.
Sure.
So
There were.
That's true. But Johnny, I mean, you're the guy we talked about Jordan Spieth a lot here. I mean, in this.
Yeah, so right now we have Patrick Reed, which is current Captain America. We have Jordan Spieth, who is future Captain America. And we have John Rahm, who's this Spanish non-bipartisan, a judge to all of this. And we're trying to knock Patrick Reed off the hedge of Captain America because everybody hates him. But I love Spieth this week. I really do. He's turned a corner. Basically, what's happening is that he has three out of 4 top fives. I think he had a 14th last week, or no, excuse me, a couple weeks ago. But he's on a roll right now, and I don't know if he's prepared to win, but I definitely think he's prepared to just contend every week and just keep himself around on the weekends, not miss cuts like he has been generally. And Reed, very inconsistent, and Rahm is one of the most consistent guys on tour right now. However, what's going on with Bryson and Dustin and Victor Hovland, it's going to be tough for him to break through this week, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Rahm, 2-3 years ago, was prime position to win this tournament until a 76 on Sunday, which took him out, obviously, out of the race. But like you said, he's the kind of guy who's playing consistently enough that one bad round shouldn't really factor into the ability to bet on him or in matchups this year, because he can play consistently, he can play well. But so we'll see. Patrick Reed, I think, like you said, he's just quietly kind of trying to get everything back going again. He did win a few weeks back at Torrey, but
he's inconsistent, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it.
Token or Tony, can you guys elaborate on that? I feel like he is inconsistent.
Yeah, it seems like he's a roller coaster. He has some highs and a lot of downward trends for sure, too. I mean, it's almost like a question mark, and it's somebody that I would not typically bet with or against. So,
well, Tony, what's his strengths? Like, what courses are play to Patrick Reed? Because is it a course thing? Well, what do you think it is in his mind? Is it a mental game?
Yeah, so I think the course fit for Reed is relatively simple. So he's not very accurate off the tee. That's really well known. So it's got to be a relatively open course off the tee. He does struggle on tight courses. In fact, he just avoids playing in a lot of spots, places like Hilton Head and along those lines. And then I think areas where greens are difficult, if you miss the green, it's difficult to get up and down, because the best part about his game is not only putting, but it's actually getting up and down and being really creative around the greens. He's one of the best getting up and down. Bunkers, rough, fairway, doesn't really matter. He's really strong. So I think a course that is kind of gets more difficult as you get closer to the hole is really where Patrick Reed is best. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters necessarily lengthwise, because, he hits it far enough. He has been able to hit the ball left to right now. It used to be, if it was a course where you had a lot of shots that had to go left to right, he was dead. I faded him a lot early on in his career, even as he was rising and the odds started to get, plummet on him. I was able to find some really good spots on courses where he wasn't able to hit that draw. But now he can hit it. He can actually move the ball both ways. So that's not at least the same thing. But, mentally it's, he's a pretty strong dude. There's been a lot of spots throughout the last few years, at least I can think of off the top of my head, where he has not been in good shape on Friday. He somehow made the cut, and he's been able to, get a relatively good result. I mean, we're not talking about Xander Schauffele style, who is the king of that. But he's still pretty good and pretty strong. Just the thing is, his record here is not all that good. In fact, his record actually in the Southeast, just in general, is not good. So I don't know if that's more of a Bermuda issue or not. It's weird because he played college golf, out in Georgia. So I don't really know, what it's about. But in general, I don't think this is a course that's necessarily fit for him. And it's weird you guys brought this up, because even though we didn't talk about this before, but he is a guy I am absolutely trying to fade. Here again, I think what's happened to him over the last few weeks, the fallout, from some of it, from his the constant rules issues and situations, I think has affected it a little bit. And if he's not on his game, basically on point in a really tough field in a spot where it's not necessarily the greatest fit for him, I think it's a good spot to fade him.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because the Southeast performance isn't, top tier, even though, like I said, he's from Georgia. He's won the Masters. Everything else has just really not gone right for him.
Yep.
All right, another group I look at here is another group of names: Rory McIlroy, Webb Simpson, Sergio Garcia. Obviously, Rory and Webb have won this tournament. Sergio's had some good spots here. But it seems Rory lately, you kind of talked about the Patrick Reed, just never contending, but can put himself in, the Schauffele. That seems to be Rory right now. I don't think anyone's scared of Rory McIlroy. And Webb Simpson's just a very consistent golfer who can definitely win this, as he's shown before. But I want to go back to Rory here, and it's just like he doesn't strike the fear like he did 10 years ago when he was up and coming. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. There's no disrespect against him personally, but I just, how do you feel about him, from a betting perspective, especially when he is, third favorite, second favorite off the boards here in most of the tournaments he plays?
I mean, if you're looking for him in a winning category, it might be a little more difficult to find value in him. But, I mean, he's been playing still pretty relatively well. I mean, he's going to make quite a bit of top 10s. If you can find like top 10s, top 20s at decent value in your opinion, or even making or missing the cut, it's definitely one to inquire.
But Rory's not allowed to do that. He's the next one, right? He was the next one 10 years ago.
Yep. And it's hard to find value on him winning, unless if it's a course that really suits his play, and even that, it's still got some flaws just because some of the field gains edge on him in courses that suits him well too. So,
well, and John, there's a difference between backing Rory, where he's going into Sunday first through third and finishes top 10, versus going into Sunday he's 15th and finishes in the top 10.
Yeah, it's sort of weird. He has a mixed bag on his Sunday finishes. You see a lot of him going in tied for first or tied for third or whatnot. But when Rory seems to be falling out of the picture, he comes up with a big win. That's what I've seen with him. And I see a good spot for him this week, because you have all these guys that are overshadowing him, such as Morikawa, even JT, or even Spieth, Rahm, obviously DJ and Bryson. These are things that you have a guy like Rory that can pump him up, and he's coming off of 2 top 10s. He seems like he's in a little groove. I was watching Golf Central earlier this week, and they were talking about how he has the two-way miss, and I said, well, the two-way miss has to be good at Sawgrass, right? Because you're going to have to bend it around the trees either way. And one of the things with Bryson I wanted to mention earlier is he going to be able to hit it over those trees that you have to dogleg through, sort of like Harbor Town is. I don't know how tall the trees is. I don't know how high Bryson's top height is, or his trajectory is, but it'd be interesting to see that. It seems like Rory sort of has figured out TPC, where a guy like Bryson might cut off a little bit more than he can handle.
Yeah, fair enough. And the last group I want to look at here is the group I like to call the replacement favorites. You have your DJs, your Brysons, your Rorys. We talked about them. But in tournaments where they don't play, these guys tend to end up being the favorites. Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, and Victor Hovland. That's going to be my new name for that trio, the replacement favorites, because that's, in spots we've seen all three of these guys, well, maybe not Hovland, but the other guys favored in a lot of spots. And, this is a group that kind of is flying under the radar lately. I mean, John's talked about Hovland. He's been just foaming at the mouth, gushing with positive things.
This is the new Rat Pack, right?
Well, you can't say it's a new Rat Pack if JT's still.
Has to be.
No, he can't be in both.
Okay. Well, JT is like dishing off his Backstreet Boys members and going off on his own with Victor Hobbs.
Fair enough. But, I mean, this is a group of, JT's been around a little while, but I guess this is your up-and-comers, John, here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Victor Hobbs this week. If we want to roll into the wins this week, I got him 28-1 on DraftKings, and at 28, it's just such good value in a deep tournament like this. It seems like he can handle his own right now. He has a couple wins, and I just love the goofy smile, I guess. I can't really say too much more than that great smile of his. But the last 6 events, he has 3 top 5s and a win, and I think he is rolling right now. If he could get one of those wins like Morikawa got his rookie year, I feel like he's going to be right behind Morikawa as far as the young up-and-comers.
Tony, which of these 3, if you had to pick to walk away with the players this weekend, who would you take?
With odds attached, or just if I had to pick?
Don't look for value. Just who you think could win this tournament out of these 3.
Justin Thomas would be my selection. He has the all-around everything game, and when he is on, and everything is clicking on all cylinders, like 5 or 6, maybe 7 other guys, he's virtually unbeatable. So, we haven't seen that from Hovland, yet. Obviously, he's a great player, no question about it, but we just haven't seen that. Whereas Justin Thomas, we've seen him just destroy golf courses, and win big tournaments now. So Justin Thomas would be my answer there. I'm not exactly sure, where his game is. He's been sort of a bit hit or miss so far this season, probably a little bit more miss, I think we could say, than hit. But, as we've said, it doesn't take very much. It can be from one week to the next. We'll see, guys just charge, seemingly out of nowhere. It's just a couple of small fixes. It could be with a swing or on the greens or, really anything. So that would be my pick out of these 3.
Yeah. All right. That's going to wrap up the featured groups here. Let's get into the betting. We won't take up any more of your time. We know that's what you're here for. All right. So the futures market here, again, on William Hill, Dustin Johnson is the favorite, but he's actually in the double digits here, guys. He's 11-1. Followed by Bryson at 13, Rory and John Rahm at 16-1, and down the list here. So, Token, I'll start with you in the double digits group from Dustin Johnson all the way to Harris English. What do you got here in this clump?
So I've got one, and then my girlfriend Christine, I let her pick a golfer this week, and she's got one on this radar. So I'm going to start with mine. All right, hold
on. If she picks the winner this week, she comes on the podcast in your corner.
Okay, fair enough.
You don't show up that podcast. She comes on.
I don't know if she says much, so.
Fair enough.
I think we have to ask her that first, but
yeah. It's fine with me, but I don't think she would agree with that. All right, so my pick is Jason Day, 40-1. I see some value on him. He's all around pretty good. It's just still a question mark, kind of, even though he hasn't been withdrawing from tournaments with health-related issues. It's still in the back of my head as a question mark to me. And then her pick is one of our favorites, is Jason Kokrak.
Yes.
Kokrak.
Yes.
Exactly. She was between 2 golfers, and they're actually in a matchup, Kokrak or Billy Horschel, and I'm like, oh, interesting. But she ended up choosing Jason Kokrak at 75-1.
Kokrak's been playing lately.
That's sort of like how women pick the color of the jerseys or the funniness of the name type
If
thing.
that's her.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Kokrak, but she pronounced it Kokrak?
No, we pronounced it Kokrak as a joke for like a year.
Okay, now I get it. Now I get it.
So it's kind of stuck, yeah.
Yeah. It's embedded in there.
All right, well done, gentlemen. Well done.
So, all right, Tony, who do you have here in this futures group?
Yeah, so don't have much here, futures-wise. The nice thing about this tournament is we get back into props. It's one of those courses those tournaments where, obviously the offshore guys always have it, and, some of the other bigger spots where we can't bet in Nevada. But even the Nevada books, the props kind of get back open here. So I'm really focused on props, and we'll certainly get into those in a little bit. But at least in the lower digit realm, I do have one guy I've already bet, and I was curious. I'll just bring up this guy randomly here. I was curious with Will Zalatoris. He is 60. I'm not really sure what he is on William Hill, but he's 60 at most places. He's jumped up to 93 on over here at Circa, and it's just one of those things that maybe somebody knows something. And I know Circa is extremely sharp, so I try to kind of stay away from those big discrepancies because there's usually a reason for so. I'm not exactly.
He hasn't played there yet, so.
Yeah, he's never been there exactly. So.
70 on Will Hill right now.
Here's the thing, though, Tony. The Players Championship Sawgrass, it's not that it's not unique. I do feel like it is a little bit more cookie cutter than the courses we've talked about in the past. So I think you could go in there the first time and possibly win.
Yeah, it's possible. Exactly. Yeah, and that's why I'm intrigued by the number. I haven't bet it. I probably won't end up betting it. There's a lot of things I circle throughout the week, things that I'm thinking about, interested in, but I don't fire on very much, of that sort of stuff. The other one I have though is one of your guys, John. One of your guys. So I do have Victor Hovland this week. Again, he's just slightly higher over there at Circa. 34-1 you can currently get. I know he's 25 to 30 in other spots depending on where you're at. It's just, to me, that's enough value. We have finally gotten there. I know this is the premier field of fields, but the numbers, and I've looked at the statistics and how his proximity to the hole is spectacular, especially up to that 200-yard range. This season only compared to some of the other ones. I know he was great last year, but I was really concerned about where he was those last 4 to 6 weeks, and it's been really, really good, especially in that 150 to 200 range, which could come into really strong play here this week. So,
and he's working it both ways, right, Tony?
I'm sorry.
He's working it both ways, right?
Yes, he can definitely hit the ball both ways. He does prefer, like many of the European players, he does prefer to hit the ball left to right, but he can certainly move the ball both ways, and he has shown propensity, even hitting really tough shots. Those shots where you want to kind of go back to your roots, the shots that are over water, the shots where you have to start it in a certain way. I have seen him hit the ball right to left, hitting the ball over water, into a green, from 220 yards out. He has no fear at all, and that was my last point I want to make. Is he is a guy, almost all the top players, let's admit, play with no fear. He plays with zero fear, and I love that about him. That one shot that he had where he was up against the hay on the WGC, and where he got up and down from a really, really tough spot. He could only bring the club back 2 or 3 inches, didn't play the ball to the right, didn't try to make it just get out of there with a bogey. He actually tried to get up and down, knew where he stood, knew he had to make a number, and did it. And those are the guys I like to back. So that's the only guy I have in the double digits here.
All right, John, let's hear what you got here in the first tier.
Wow, how interesting that Tony and I are on the same side. Victor Hobbs at 28-1. Last 6 events, a win in 3 top 5s. He's on fire right now. He's ready to challenge the best in the world. And as I said, I just love that smile. So we'll just keep it going with that. If you don't mind, I'll just go into the bottom dwellers.
Hold on,
if you don't mind.
Hold on.
Oh, excuse me. Let's go to token for the double digits.
No, we've gone to token. I am going to give my picks for the double digits.
Oh, here. Okay. I guess we'll give you a highlight every once in a while.
I thank you. I appreciate it. I figure I haven't been striking with these futures, but I'm going to take a few off the wall guys here a little bit in the double digits, just in case the scoring conditions allow for people to get in who have been playing well. And tip of the cap to token here. I'm taking Abraham Answer at 75-1.
Yes.
And my other pick is Scotty Scheffler at 40-1 here. I'm taking a couple of guys who are just in that third tier. If they can get scoring numbers up, I think we've got a good shot at maybe being in contention on Sunday. All right, John, I would love to hear your basement dwellers.
All right, perfect. Hopefully Scheffler wins this week, and you can come back at me next week with this. But just got one.
Wait. Speaking of, I want to remind you.
Yeah, I know what we're talking about right now. The
Okay.
push-ups, right?
Yeah, they owe you push-ups.
Oh man, this is a great day right now because we do have push-ups coming in from it's Pebble Beach, right? We haven't been together since Pebble Beach, but I did challenge both of you where
Start stretching, boys.
Mr. Token,
I think it was
he had Siwoo Kim versus Sam Burns, where I actually was, the dog in that match, where Sam Burns won, and we tried to bet 5, and Token very generously bumped it up to 8. Okay, and I said, okay, I'll take the 8 versus your 8. However, Mr. Tony, what happened with him? He was worried about getting some edge on it, and I had to give up 8 push-ups to his 5 push-ups when I had Strillman against Mr.
Matt
Jones. Matt
Oh,
Jones. Matt Jones. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, there you go. And I gladly gave it up because I knew I was going to win. And gentlemen, I really feel like this would be a great time to have the push-ups. Aaron.
We're going to save it for the end. After you're one and done, it'll be push-up time.
Perfect.
Okay.
But I do need some christening by the mediator, Mr. Aaron Crouch, on the situation. So
yes,
make sure you set them up, okay?
We'll make sure the camera angles are good for push-up time.
Yeah, I'm going to have to adjust my I'll start adjusting it as we get towards the end. Yep.
All right, so we'll go into the great sob story of Brendan Grace winning the Puerto Rico Open a couple weeks ago after his father sadly passed from COVID about 5 weeks ago. And he actually followed that up with the 26th at the Arnold Palmer, where, guys, it's so funny when you see these PGA Tour golfers, they have kids, they win. Someone dies in their family, they win. And it doesn't happen like that every time. We all know that, but it happens more as far as a percentage than it should. So there's something to that, and I really feel like Brendan Grace, he's always been a great golfer, along with the other great South African golfers. They all look up to Ernie Els. He's one of the best that ever. I actually shaped my swing after Ernie Els, and Brendan Grace and Louis and all those guys, they're great for the game, and I really hope he gets an contention this week. 225 to 1 on DraftKings. 225, especially for a course that sort of shapes his playing ability. So we'll see what happens. 225 to 1, Brendan Grace.
All right, Tony, who do we have in this bottom tier here?
I got 4 guys, so I'm just going to reel them off so we can move along a little bit. It's mostly I'm looking for streaky guys, iron players, just second shot sort of dudes. First one really isn't that, admittedly, but I just like the number here. Shane Lowry at 200 to 1. I think he's pretty much 200 at most places. Shane's a guy, he hasn't really put it together in the last year or so, although he has played well. It's not like he has not, he's been in some sort of slump. That's not true. He's actually played quite well. So I like Shane here. He can go any course, anywhere. He can play well. There's really no part of his game that isn't on point. It's just 200 to 1. I don't care how good the field is. To me, that's not the right number. He's a top 40 player in the world. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So at 200 to 1, I'm going to take him pretty much when you can. This is the longest odds I've seen on Shane Lowry that I can remember the last 2-3 years plus. So that's nice. And these other 3 guys are streaky shooters, so we'll go with it here. Charlie Hoffman at 300. This is the second time we'll be betting on Charlie Hoffman now this year. He's shown the ability now to get the ball back into the fairway and get it close to the green. Obviously, he struggles immensely on the greens and sometimes around the greens. We know that. That's very well documented, but he has won throughout his tenure on the PGA Tour. As a ball striker, he's won multiple times, and I think there's no question that if everything does come together, he also plays the game with absolutely zero fear, and he will fire at everything. So he's a guy I want to have if he's on. Second dude is Robert McIntyre. Had a really close call there with him out in the desert on the European tour earlier this year at 50-1, and he led in the second and third round, and going into the fourth round, he just fell apart. And Paul Casey was able to play well and win. That was very frustrating. That would have been a really, really good one. But I like where McIntyre is. Tall, gangly Scotsman who plays the game like an American, really. In that sense, he hits the ball long and high, is able to move it a couple of different ways. He's really got a very up and down game on the greens. In that round, that fourth round where he fell apart in the desert, he four-putted from, I think, like 15 feet on number 10, and that took him out fully. He's had the propensity to do that and to kind of fall apart. But his ball striking is so good that I just think that if we can finally have him not fall apart and be relatively level here on the greens, I think with the rest of the field, you never know, there's a chance. And then the fourth guy is Aaron Wise, 300 at most places. He is 400 at Circa, and I think that is good enough to take a shot. Aaron Wise, mostly a northwest kind of guy from Oregon, I believe. He even played college golf out there in California. I can't really remember. But he's just a dude that he can put it together pretty much anywhere. He's got top 10s and top 5s all over the country, and barely into this field, barely there, kind of trying to hang on. Another guy that can't putt worth a shit. So hopefully maybe he can come through here. But the ball striking, 175 to 200 yards. If you take it over the last 2 years, he is top 10 on the PGA Tour in accuracy into the green from 175 to 200 yards. So we'll go with it, and those are my four guys from the Dwellers.
Yeah, not a bad flyer at 400-1, a guy who can definitely hopefully get it close to the pin there. So, all right, let's get some basement dwellers here, Token Tony. Let's risk it for the biscuit.
Yep. That's my little tag today. I'm going to start out with Siwoo, who won it a couple years ago and had excellent value last year. Unfortunately, he got canceled after round one, but this year, even coming out off of win, 6 weeks ago, 100-1, he's a guy that's not afraid to go for it. So at that value, I still see it. And then I actually only have two this week, and my other one is Kevin Streelman at 175-1.
Shocker.
Yeah, it's definitely not Schwartzel or Noren this week, so.
Yeah, but we had to get a Kevin Streelman in the podcast there. So.
Yep. And then one interesting long shot that I'm going to note, because I know Spieth, when he became a really long shot, he was in contention to win, is Ricky Fowler this week. I see at 125-1. I don't see any chance, but
he's won it here before. So, and if there's ever a tournament he needs to get back on the saddle, this would be the one to do it. Yeah, the Players Championship. We talked about Ricky, 2 weeks ago or last week, about the fact that he's probably going to miss the Masters. This tournament could go a long way as to maybe him not doing that, missing the Masters this year. So we'll have to see. But Ricky Fowler's been triple digit. He's been a basement dweller the last few weeks, actually. So, all right. So my basement dwellers here this week. Of course, I got to give a tip of the cap here to our boy Kevin Kisner at 125-1. He's back. It's Florida golf now, so he's the Southeast. Kevin Kisner is going to be around. He was playing really well, and then took a month off, and he kind of just getting his footing back under him. He's finished in the 30s and 40s at Workday and at the API. So I'm hoping that he has a good weekend here. And then another guy I'm looking at who hasn't played terribly, but hasn't played well. Was in contention last week until he just shit the bed on Sunday at 225-1. I'm looking at Doug Gim. Hopefully, he fires some 80s. You're not going to be involved in a lot of days, but let's hope that 81 last Sunday, he's put that in the past. But he was right there. He was right there on Saturday with that 65, and it just didn't work out for him. But let's see. Let's see Doug Gim at 225-1 here. So, Token, I'll kick it back to you for matchups and props here.
All right, so matchups that's all I have this week. No props so far. So I'm going to start out with, in terms of low value to high value, I'm going to start out with Tringali over Henley at -110. Moving on up, we got Rory over Rahm at +115. I saw a decent amount of value in that one. I feel like this is the spot for Rory to kind of make a statement. I don't see him winning, but I see him performing very well. Rahm, I could see kind of being up there too, but I could also see him kind of falling off the wagon on this one. Spieth over Hovland. I mean, I hate to go against Hovland, but that value I really like. It's +165. And Spieth usually plays pretty well here, so. And then we got Schauffele over Cantlay as my big pick this week at -125.
Hey, John, what do we have for matchups and props this week, sir?
So I got 4 matchups. Let's start with the top matchup of the week: Jason Kokrak versus Corey Connors. We're looking for the letdown from Connors, along with the Kokrak top 10 last 2 starts. He also had the CJ Cup in October. He hasn't missed a cut in the last six events. So the top pick is Kokrak +107 versus Corey Connors. And then you have Finau -120 versus Berger. You have DJ even money versus Rahm. DJ's the best golfer in the world right now. How do you not take even money and take advantage of the juice? And then we're looking at Spieth +155 versus Morikawa, where you're looking for the Morikawa fade after the big win, and the Spieth, you're just riding the train on him. Along with the finishes, which I've been doing sensationally well in last week, where I had Willie Sizzle top 30 at +110, Paul Casey top 20 at +138. Hit both of those last week. Where this week, let's just roll with the Willie Sizzle train, top 30 at +175 now because it's the stronger field. You got Spieth at top 20 at +150, and I think the best top finish of the week is Victor Hovland, Vicky Hovs, top 20 at +150, where he has been rolling lately. I really love that bet, top 20 +150 for Vicky Hovs. It's just phenomenal value.
All right, Tony, round us out here.
I'll
give mine, but round out the panel.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll start with the matchups here, and then we'll go more towards the props. So I have 3 of those matchups that are already in, considering some with, Robert McIntyre, but haven't fired those yet. And so we'll start with the 3, Justin Thomas over Morikawa. Thomas -125 over at Will Hill. Again, I think we're all sort of in the same ballpark here. I understand that you guys are on the Spieth spot over Morikawa in other situations. I'm not saying I want to fade Spieth or be a part of it. It's just I don't know. I mean, he has had so many great results now, week after week after week after week, and then a course that is really you have to be on. With the second and third shots, have to be on. Like I just can't. I don't know if he can make up enough shots on the green like he has. His shots gained on the green are insane the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I just don't know if you can make up enough here if you're not close enough to the hole. So I'm not sure about Spieth here, but the value I get what you guys are doing with the value, and it makes some sense. It's just I saw those as well. I can't join them, unfortunately, even though I really do want to fade Morikawa. Second Morikawa fade is Hovland over Morikawa at Westgate, -120, and it's one of those that's unfortunate because I feel like obviously Morikawa is kind of deemed the better player. Certainly he's won a lot more. He's won a major, and so he should be the favorite here. But I think that's a very, very telling sign that Hovland is a favorite over Morikawa on a course like this, and I totally agree. I think it should be probably in the 140, 150 range, to be quite honest with you. I think he beats him very, very often on this course in the spot that they're currently in. So I'll still play it at -120. And then my favorite one of the week is Daniel Berger over Patrick Reed. Not a lot of love, not a lot of talk we're getting from Daniel Berger. But, I mean, very quietly, and we have mentioned this at least on our podcast here, that since the restart last year back at the Colonial, he's been one of the better players on tour. There's no question. He's one of the top 10 players on the tour. He's been consistent. And not only is he consistent, he's only missed one cut, I believe, but he's had a lot of top 10s, a lot of top 20s. He's gotten the winner's circle. He's been fantastic. And this is where he does best. He does best in the Southeast, where he's from in Florida, on the Bermuda grass. I know we're not necessarily in the greens wise, but the rest of the course is Bermuda, and I just think this is where he's the most comfortable. So I really like him over Patrick Reed. Again, we're trying to kind of find some spots to fade Reed at -105 in William Hill. I think that's a slam dunk. Very quickly, this is one I wouldn't recommend necessarily betting now, but I did bet it right away when it came out at Westgate. The winning score, 272.5. I do have the under here, so the par is 288. So we're looking at 16 under or lower. And I do think that the winner is going to be in that 18-ish range would be my guess. It's down to 271.5, both at William Hill and Westgate and some of the other Nevada properties. I would still bet it, yes. I still think that there is some value, but it's clearly not as much. Having to get to 17 versus 16, certainly stroke matters. But I do think that we're going to have a small collection of guys that are going to be pretty low. I'm not sure who that collection is. Obviously, it'd be good to know that, but it won't just be one guy. I do think that there's enough of this course that can be beaten, and the field is obviously so good that there will be a lot of guys in that 15 to 16 range, I think almost going into the fourth round, or at least early on in that round, and just a couple of birdies coming in should be able to do it there. Next on the prop list is I only have one guy to make this cut, and that's Francesco Molinari, -120 to make cut over at Will Hill. There's a lot of, because he's been very back and forth since that move to California and the whole family dynamic that has changed in his life. It's taken about a year. We haven't seen a lot of him. He's come back and played and to some mixed results, but I think on the tougher courses, he's actually played best this season, which I really like. This is a course that should obviously completely fit his style of game. He is best hitting the ball into greens, certainly. And he's had some decent results here too in the past, especially when he was playing on the European Tour. Now that he's centrally focused here in the PGA Tour, I do like the spot here for Molinari. I'm not sure if he can win, but to make the cut at -120, I think is very viable. And then, John Parr talked about Victor Hovland, the top 20. I'm going to go ahead and go with the top 10 for Hovland at +310 at Westgate. We're going to have him to win. So if he somehow can't get it done late, I like the +310 to finish top 10, and that includes ties, which is really nice at Westgate. And just a quick little bonus here. I don't usually talk about these sort of things or whatever, but I know we've done it before in the past at the majors. William Hill especially, and a few of the other books do give out, like you can bet on round scores. You can do that a little bit offshore as well. So over at Will Hill, they have round scores up for the first round, and I'm betting unders as much as possible. Usually it's the other way around. I like to bet on overs, things that people don't want. But I think scoring is going to be a lot better than is generally thought of. It's par 72, but these are all guys I think that can really go low. So there's, I think, 9 or 10 available. I have 5 picked out, already bet. Tony Finau under 70 -110. Rahm under 69.5 +100. Justin Thomas under 70 -110. McIlroy under 69.5 +100. And Schauffele under 69.5 +100. I think these are really, really good. So, all of these guys, 2 under or more. Obviously, the 69.5s need to get 3. Very, very doable. And those are the 5 I'm making for the first round, and that's what we got.
Wow, that's loaded. I don't have quite that many, but I might be tailing some of those first round scores like I did with you in the Masters in November. Hopefully those will come out positive for us. I have 4 matchups / props. Sorry, Token, I'll go with the prop here first. I'm kind of fading you in this spot. I'm going to go with a missed cut for Jason Day at +185. I just, like you said, he doesn't seem like he's in a winning mode, and if he gets off to a bad start, it could be bad, especially if a lot of other guys
could even withdraw.
Well, There's that too. Yeah, but if a lot of these other guys are going low and he doesn't, there's a chance he may not see the weekend. So matchups. I got a first round matchup. I've got Tony Finau over Sung Jae Im at -120 for the first round. I too am on Molinari. I'm going to take him over Lee Westwood. As much as I love Lee Westwood, I'm going to fade him this week. I think he kind of shot his load at Arnold Palmer last week. So I'm going to take Molinari +120 over Lee Westwood. And I'm going to go with Scotty Scheffler over Joaquin Niemann at -120. Scheffler's been playing well. I've been looking at Niemann, following Niemann, backing Niemann for the last few weeks. It just hasn't gone very well for me in that spot. So I'm gonna take Scotty Scheffler here over Joaquin Niemann at -120. So all right, looks like Tony's already ready for push-ups, but we've got some DFS from Token, and we've got John Parr's one and done. So Token, why don't you take it away? And after that, John, you can finish with our one and done, and I'll let you be the master of ceremonies for the push-ups here.
Yep. All right, so with DFS this week, I'm going to start out big with Rory. I even though it was a little more than I thought it probably should have been, 10,600 on Rory, I'll take him. Why not? And then it goes significantly downhill from there. We got Spieth for 8,600, Dave for 8,000, Abraham Answer for 7,500. We got Cameron Tringali for 7,200 and Siwoo Kim for 7,200. Leaving 900 on the table.
Past winner. I see what was one here. So there you go.
Along with Tim Clark.
Yep. Hey, don't forget about him. He might have a few cobwebs on him, but
fair enough. So, all right, John, the rest of the show is yours. One and done in push-ups.
Perfect. Let's start with the push-ups. Pebble Beach. Mr. Token, what happened there was I tried to give you a little bit of leeway because I had the better advantage with Burns versus Siwoo. You said, okay, let's do 8 push-ups, and I just politely I just politely
oh, you got spectators for this?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I got probably an Amazon package over there. Maybe a package, maybe something that could help me with my real golf game compared to my gambling golf game. All right, and then you got to go along with Mr. Tony, who we tried to bet 7 push-ups, but he knew he was a dog in the match where I had Streelman -125 versus Matt Jones. So he said, okay, I'll only do 5. So I said, okay, we'll give you 5. It didn't really matter. I knew I was going to win both. So, gentlemen, let's do it right now. Token, you owe me 8, and Mr. Tony, you owe me 5.
All right, let's do them one at a time here. So, Tony Johnson owes less.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I should start?
Yes, you're going to go with your 5 push-ups here.
Okay. Oh, I haven't done one of these in a while. I don't know if the
This
camera's
is
in
perfect.
Camera's in good spot.
good spot. Okay. All right, let's do this.
Oh, wait, John's not seeing them. John, you got to look at your push-ups. What's he doing?
I don't know what he's doing. 3?
I did my own push-ups on the
What?
way. Yeah. That's perfect.
That's my 5.
All right. When's the last time you did push-ups, Tony?
It's been a couple of years. I don't know. I could have done a few more, but that's about it.
yeah.
All right, Token, 8 push-ups.
8
All right.
push-ups.
It'll be a little struggle, but yeah, I'm a little rusty with these as well, but I'll give it a go.
I'll let you do 4 man push-ups and 4 girl push-ups.
I'll try and do 8 real ones.
Or 16 girl push-ups.
Fair enough.
Back up. Oh, he can't hear us.
2, 3.
Uh-oh. 4. 5. Oh, he dropped.
5. He came back up. Here we go.
6. 7. And he didn't get. There we go.
Oh man, that wasn't.
I can tell you one thing. After watching you two, I know how out of shape I am. I'm not betting push-ups on any bet.
I'm not proud of that, Token. Not proud of it at all. I'll get a couple more before we say farewell to each other in the future. maybe you can get a couple from me, I'm sure. All right. Either way, let's go to the one and done pick. I'm going to go with Rory this week, and I'd love to hear all you guys' feedback. He has a couple top tens last 2 starts. I don't feel like a lot of people are going to take Rory this week. And I feel like it's a safe pick in one of the biggest paying tournaments of the year. And I still have, for the last 4 majors, I got DJ, I got Rahm, JT, Morikawa, Bryson, and Koepka. So I would love to hear you all's thoughts on me taking Rory for the one and done this week.
I don't hate it. I mean, I think, like I said, like he's going to be around. He's the defending champ, quote unquote. Although you could argue that maybe it's Matsuyama after a 63 in the first round. No one beat him last year.
Yeah.
But that's my thought. I think he'll be around.
Here's the big thing with me is that I've been 8th out of 61 after 8 weeks, and I still have most of the big hitters. I know I used Xander, I used I used Hovland, which is a big one, Cantlay. But I do have the big hitters with DJ and Bryson for the majors, so we'll see what happens. And I'm just going to take Rory this week. I feel like it's going to be a top 10, get a little 300K ball, and say see you later.
Yeah, these are important because you're based on prize money. So I would never really try to kind of go off the reservation with a tournament like this because the prize money is so big compared to some of the other tournaments that you can make an off the reservation pick, at like the Rocket Mortgage or somewhere else where it's toned down. But yeah, here I think you got to go with one of the top 5 or 10 guys, and McIlroy's as good as anybody else. So why not?
Yeah, and a 5th place here might be a win somewhere else. So
a solo 5th is probably around 500K.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, absolutely.
Right around win to top 3 for some of the other tournaments. Yeah,
that's a great point. Great point, Token.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on a roll lately. A lot of second place finishes, and maybe you can get over the hump and get that victory.
And if Rory gets a victory, that's 2.7 right there in your theoretical pocket.
Oh, wow.
That's a big jump.
Wow, it's huge. I didn't realize that big. Wow, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So.
There you go.
All right, that's going to do it for the players here. Big jam-packed show. We've had we've talked about everything from TPC Sawgrass to all the guys in the field, and we even did some push-ups on the podcast. So we hope you enjoyed the podcast. Good luck on your bets. We appreciate you guys. Check out our sponsors at lvsquares.com. I'm going to wrap up the show here. You can check them out. I'm not going to list them. They're all there. Support them so they can continue to support us. We appreciate you guys listening. For Token Tony, for Tony Johnson, and John Parr, I am Aaron. Again, good luck on your bets. Enjoy the players, and we'll catch you next week.